Massachusetts Minutemen versus Central Michigan Chippewas. A struggling Massachusetts squad heads to Mount Pleasant to face a resurgent Central Michigan team in a Mid-American Conference (MAC) clash that sharply contrasts two programs on opposite trajectories. The Minutemen enter at 0-7 overall and 0-3 in conference play, mired in a rebuilding phase and searching for their first victory of the season. Central Michigan, meanwhile, stands at 4-3 overall and 2-1 in the MAC, keeping pace with conference leaders Buffalo and Miami, OH, as it eyes bowl eligibility and a potential dark horse run in the West Division. With Central Michigan favored heavily by analytics, this matchup shapes up as a test of whether the Chippewas' balanced offense can stay consistent or if Massachusetts can finally find rhythm on the road. At quarterback, the duel features Massachusetts' A. Hairston and Central Michigan's J. Labus, two signal callers at very different stages of development. Hairston has thrown for 636 yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, often forced into high-pressure situations behind a shaky offensive line. Labas, more efficient and composed, has posted 766 passing yards with 5 scores and just 1 interception, showcasing his ability to manage games and execute off-play action. The Chippewas' offensive balance behind Labas gives them an edge, while Hairston's arm talent remains promising but inconsistent in execution. In the ground game, Massachusetts' B. Hood has been a bright spot with 285 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on 63 carries, but he faces a stout Central Michigan front. The Chippewas counter with A. Flores, a dynamic back who has churned out 456 yards and 7 touchdowns on 95 carries, providing the offensive stability that has driven CMU's recent success. Through the air, Jay Gibson leads the Minutemen with 358 receiving yards on 36 catches, while T. McIntosh anchors Central Michigan's passing attack with 197 yards and a knack for clutch plays in the red zone. Defensively, the Minutemen have struggled to contain big plays, though Monsieur White's 4 sacks and T. Hinspater's 69 tackles have kept them competitive in spurts. Central Michigan's defense, led by M. Heldman with 5.5 sacks and Jay Kwiatkowski with 50 tackles, has been far more disciplined, particularly in the trenches. That unit will aim to exploit Massachusetts' protection issues and keep pressure on Hairston throughout the contest. Recent form suggests a clear divide. Massachusetts has dropped its last 5, including a 28-21 heartbreaker to Buffalo and a 42-6 blowout against Kent State. Central Michigan, conversely, has won 3 of its last 5, highlighted by a 27-6 defensive clinic versus Bowling Green and a 49-10 rout over Wagner. With the Chippewas' momentum and home field confidence, the Minutemen face a steep climb against one of the MAC's most complete mid-tier squads. While Massachusetts continues to seek identity, Central Michigan's mix of offensive rhythm and defensive toughness positions it to stay in MAC contention. The X factors will be Flores' red zone efficiency and Labus' poise under pressure against whether Hairston can deliver clean possessions and avoid turnovers. Unless the Minutemen find a sudden spark, expect the Chippewas to control tempo and extend drives with their balanced attack. Prediction: Central Michigan 38, Massachusetts 13. The Chippewas' offensive efficiency and defensive front prove too much, while UMass's growing pains persist in a long season of rebuilding. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Central Michigan Chippewas winner. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box. Texas Longhorns versus Mississippi State Bulldogs. The number. 21 Texas Longhorns travel to Starkville for an SEC clash against the Mississippi State Bulldogs in a matchup that pits a rising contender against a conference struggler fighting to stay afloat. Texas enters at 5-2 overall and 2-1 in SEC play, having rebounded from an early loss to Florida with 3 straight wins. Mississippi State, meanwhile, sits at 4-3 overall, but winless in the SEC at 0-3, desperate to avoid sliding further down the standings. For Texas, this game represents a chance to stay alive in the crowded SEC race behind Texas A&M and Alabama, while Mississippi State aims to find its footing and pull off an upset in front of its home crowd. Quarterback play will be the centerpiece of this matchup. Texas sophomore signal caller Arch Manning has been steady if not spectacular, throwing for 1,449 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions while completing 114 of 189 passes. Across the field, Mississippi State's Blake Shapen has been more productive statistically, with 1,525 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 5 picks on 124 of 185 passing. But his efficiency has been overshadowed by inconsistent protection and the Bulldogs' inability to sustain drives in conference play. Manning's poise under pressure will be crucial against a physical Mississippi State front led by W. Whitson, who has 2 sacks but remains a constant disruptor in the backfield. The Longhorns' ground game remains a work in progress, but Quinn Wisner has emerged as the lead back, rushing for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns on 58 carries. Texas tends to rely more on its passing attack, where Ryan Wingo has been the clear number. 1 target, tallying 320 yards and 4 touchdowns on 24 receptions. Mississippi State's offense, conversely, runs through Fred Bothwell, who's accumulated 465 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns on 84 carries, giving the Bulldogs a more balanced attack when they can control tempo. B. Thompson has been Shapen's top receiving threat, compiling 533 yards and 4 scores on 29 catches, a combination of vertical speed and reliable hands that could challenge the Texas secondary. Defensively, Texas boasts one of the more disciplined units in the SEC. Linebacker C. Simmons anchors the front 7 with 7 sacks, while M. Taffa leads the team with 51 tackles, embodying the Longhorns' physical gap-sound approach. Mississippi State's defense, though opportunistic at times, has struggled to close games, conceding 31 or more points in each of its last 3 SEC contests. Jay Manning, the Bulldogs' leading tackler with 46 stops, will need a standout performance to slow down the Longhorns' versatile offense. Momentum heavily favors Texas. The Longhorns have won 3 straight, including a gritty overtime win over Kentucky and a commanding victory over rival Oklahoma. Mississippi State, by contrast, has dropped 3 in a row, all SEC losses, after a promising non-conference start. The Bulldogs' inability to convert red zone trips into touchdowns has been costly, while Texas has excelled at capitalizing on opponent mistakes. In the broader SEC picture, Texas remains very much in the mix. At 4-0 in conference play, Texas A&M leads the standings, but Texas, sitting just behind with a 2-1 record, could close the gap with a win. Mississippi State, languishing at 0-3, faces long postseason odds, but could still secure bowl eligibility with a late-season surge. The X factors loom large. Arch Manning's composure on the road, Bothwell's ability to wear down Texas's front 7, and Mississippi State's defensive resilience after halftime. If Texas jumps ahead early, expect the Bulldogs to lean on Shapen's arm to spark a rally, but turnovers could again prove fatal. Prediction: Texas has the balance, discipline, and quarterback advantage to control this matchup from the start. Mississippi State's home crowd may keep it close early, but the Longhorns' depth and passing attack should ultimately prevail. Expect a decisive win for Texas, something in the range of 31-17, keeping their SEC title hopes alive while extending the Bulldogs' conference frustrations. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Texas Longhorns winner. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box. Georgia Southern Eagles versus Arkansas State Red Wolves. Arkansas State welcomes Georgia Southern in a pivotal Sun Belt showdown between two evenly matched programs desperate to move above .500 and stay alive in their respective division races. Both teams enter at 3 and 4 overall, but the Red Wolves have a narrow edge in conference play at 2 and 1, trailing only Troy and Southern Miss in the West. Georgia Southern, sitting at 1 and 2 in the East, looks to claw back into relevance after an uneven start. For both sides, this matchup represents a mid-season litmus test. Is a bowl berth within reach, or will inconsistency continue to define their 2025 campaigns? At quarterback, the duel between Georgia Southern's Jay French IV and Arkansas State's Jay Rayner could define the evening. French has thrown for 1,469 yards, with 16 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, operating with precision and poise in a pass-heavy system. Across the field, Rayner has compiled 1,660 passing yards and 10 touchdowns, offset by 5 interceptions, while adding a valuable ground component with 272 rushing yards and 4 scores. His dual-threat versatility has made him the heartbeat of the Red Wolves' offense, though decision-making under pressure remains a concern. Offensively, both squads feature dangerous playmakers capable of turning drives into highlight reels. Georgia Southern's C. Brown leads the receiving corps with 598 yards and 8 touchdowns, creating matchup nightmares for smaller defensive backs. Running back O. Arnold complements him with 439 rushing yards and 3 scores, offering balance and short yardage reliability. For Arkansas State, C. Cobb has been the go-to target with 474 yards on 40 receptions, though the Red Wolves have leaned more heavily on Rayner's mobility to sustain drives. Recent form tells a tale of two different momentums. Georgia Southern snapped a 2-game skid with a confidence-boosting 44-24 victory over Georgia State last week, proving they can score in bunches when their offense clicks. Arkansas State, meanwhile, has steadied after an uneven start, winning 2 of its last 3, including a gritty 31-30 decision over Texas State. Still, both defenses have been leaky, Georgia Southern allowing explosive plays through the air, and Arkansas State struggling against the run. In the broader Sun Belt picture, this contest carries tangible postseason weight. Arkansas State could move into a tie for second in the West with a win, while Georgia Southern must triumph to keep pace in the crowded East. The Red Wolves' home advantage at Centennial Bank Stadium could prove decisive. They've looked far more comfortable in Jonesboro than on the road. Defensively, E. Hassler, 2.5 sacks, and B. Greel, 43 tackles, lead a unit that will need to contain French's rhythm passing attack. Georgia Southern counters with linebacker B. Harrington, whose 54 tackles anchor a defense-seeking consistency. The X factors lie in execution. If French finds Brown early and the Eagles establish a balanced tempo, they can exploit Arkansas State's secondary. Conversely, if Rayner's mobility keeps drives alive and limits turnovers, the Red Wolves' offense could wear down Georgia Southern's front 7. Expect a back-and-forth affair heavy on big plays and momentum swings. Prediction: Arkansas State 34, Georgia Southern 27. The Red Wolves' blend of home field comfort and Rayner's dual-threat ability tilt the matchup their way, though Georgia Southern's aerial attack keeps things close. With analytics slightly favoring Arkansas State at roughly 58% win probability, the Red Wolves should hold serve in Jonesboro, but not without a fight. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Arkansas State Red Wolves winner. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box. Michigan Wolverines versus Michigan State Spartans. The annual Michigan rivalry returns as the number 1. 25 Michigan Wolverines travel to East Lansing to face the Michigan State Spartans at Spartan Stadium on Saturday, October 25th. Michigan enters the matchup at 5-2 overall and 3-1 in Big Ten play, eyeing a push toward conference contention. Michigan State, meanwhile, stands at 3-4 and winless in the Big Ten at 0-4, desperately seeking a season-defining upset against its bitter in-state rival. The stakes are clear. Michigan aims to keep pace with the Big Ten's elite, while Michigan State looks to reclaim pride and momentum in a frustrating campaign. Quarterback play defines this contest. For Michigan, junior signal caller B. Underwood has been steady and efficient, throwing for 1,440 yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions while completing 113 of 181 passes. His poise and accuracy have anchored a Wolverine offense that thrives on balance and efficiency. Across the field, Michigan State's A. Chili's has produced 1,262 passing yards and 13 touchdowns, but has struggled with consistency, tossing 3 interceptions and completing 60% of his attempts. If Chili's can find rhythm against Michigan's disciplined secondary, the Spartans could turn this into a 4-quarter battle. On the ground, Michigan's rushing attack has been powered by Jay Haynes, who's piled up 705 yards and 8 touchdowns on 95 carries, averaging nearly 7.5 yards per carry. His explosive style has given Michigan versatility, allowing Underwood to work comfortably off play action. Michigan State's M. Frazier has been a bright spot in an otherwise uneven offense, tallying 384 yards and 2 touchdowns on 94 carries. However, the Spartans' offensive line has struggled to create space against top defenses, a concerning sign facing Michigan's front 7, led by edge rusher D. Moore, 4.5 sacks, and linebacker E. Houseman, 47 tackles. Both teams have shown contrasting trends in recent weeks. Michigan rebounded from a 31-13 loss to USC with a 24-7 dismantling of Washington, showcasing defensive resilience and renewed focus. Before that, wins over Wisconsin, 24-10, and Nebraska, 30-27, highlighted their ability to grind out victories. Michigan State, conversely, is spiraling after 4 straight losses. Most recently, a 38-13 setback to Indiana and a 38-13 defeat to UCLA. Defensive lapses and turnover woes have plagued the Spartans, who haven't found an offensive rhythm since early September. In the standings, Michigan sits in the thick of the Big Ten race behind Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon, making every conference win vital for postseason positioning. A victory here would not only boost their ranking, but also solidify their claim as a legitimate contender for a New Year's Six Bowl. Michigan State, however, finds itself near the conference cellar, sharing the bottom with Penn State and Rutgers. The Spartans' season is less about playoff dreams and more about rebuilding pride under fire. Key X factors will determine the outcome. If Michigan's defensive front can pressure Chili's early and limit explosive plays from wide-out O'Kelly, 406 yards, 1 touchdown, the Wolverines could control tempo and field position. For Michigan State, creating turnovers and establishing Frazier in the run game are non-negotiable. The Spartans must shorten drives, keep Underwood off the field, and avoid falling behind early. Prediction: Michigan's balance, defensive discipline, and recent form make them the clear favorite. The Wolverines' offense is too polished, their defense too structured for Michigan State's struggling unit to keep pace. Expect a motivated Michigan squad to dominate the trenches and extend the Spartans' conference misery. Final call: Michigan 34, Michigan State 14. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Michigan Wolverines winner. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box. Colorado Buffaloes versus Utah Utes. 2 Big 12 programs at opposite ends of their developmental arcs collide Saturday when the Colorado Buffaloes, 3-4, 1-3 Big 12, travel to Rice-Eccles Stadium to face the number 23 Utah Utes, 5-2, 2-2. For Utah, the goal is to stabilize after a mid-season wobble and maintain momentum in a crowded conference race. For Colorado, it's a chance to prove it can hang with ranked competition and salvage a season that's teetering between promise and frustration. The Utes enter with an 83.4% win probability, backed by balance on both sides of the ball, while Colorado hopes its offensive trio, led by quarterback Kay Salter, can ignite an upset. Salter has been a bright spot for the Buffaloes, throwing for 1,156 yards with 9 touchdowns against 4 interceptions, though inconsistency has plagued his protection. Running back Mr. Welch anchors a limited rushing attack with 277 yards and 2 scores, while wideout O. Miller provides the deep threat, tallying 371 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Defensively, edge rusher K. Wade leads with 2.5 sacks, and safety T. Byard has been a tackling machine with 47 stops. The challenge will be containing Utah's multifaceted quarterback, D. Dampier, who leads the Utes with 1,375 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions while adding 442 yards and 5 rushing scores, numbers that make him one of the most dynamic dual threats in the conference. Utah's offense hums when Dampier gets rhythm support from receiver R. Davis, who's posted 482 yards and 3 touchdowns on 46 catches. The Utes' offensive balance is their greatest weapon. When Dampier's improvisation combines with Davis's route precision, they've proven difficult to stop, as seen in recent wins over Arizona State, 42-10, and West Virginia, 48-14. Defensively, Utah thrives on pressure, led by Jay Daly's 9 sacks, a potential nightmare for a Colorado offensive line that struggled to keep Salter upright. Safety Jay Benny adds stability on the back end with 36 tackles and timely coverage. Recent form leans heavily Utah's way. The Utes have won 3 of their last 4, rebounding from a close loss to BYU with convincing victories that restored their top 25 standing. Colorado, meanwhile, has shown flashes, narrowly beating Iowa State and falling by a single score to TCU. But inconsistency remains their Achilles heel, particularly on the road. Utah sits in the middle of the Big 12 pack at 2-2, but remains within striking distance of the upper tier, while Colorado's 1-3 mark leaves little margin for error if they hope for bowl contention. The Utes' balanced attack, featuring a mix of efficient passing and a strong ground game, has consistently controlled tempo, forcing opponents into mistakes. Colorado will need disciplined execution and opportunistic plays to stay competitive, but Utah's recent cohesion and defensive reliability suggest the road team enters with a clear advantage in both strategy and momentum. The key X factors lie in protection and pace. If Utah's front, powered by Daly, can collapse Salter's pocket early, Colorado's offense could sputter before it finds rhythm. Conversely, if Welch can spark the run game enough to open play-action lanes for Miller, the Buffaloes might test Utah's secondary. On the other side, limiting Dampier's scrambling lanes will be critical. Few defenses have succeeded once he escapes containment. Prediction: Utah 38, Colorado 20. The Utes' efficiency, defensive front, and home field advantage should prove too much for a Buffaloes squad still seeking balance. Unless Colorado's offense delivers its cleanest performance of the year, Utah will continue its climb up the Big 12 standings, while Colorado is left regrouping for November. After analyzing both teams, my pick for this match is Utah Utes winner. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments box.